Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the South End Zone. We are just full of special episodes this week. We had the special Georgia Tech recap episode this weekend, and today we are going to. Tyler just got off work. I'm getting ready to go to work, so we're just going to cram one in early in the morning while we're both still wiping the crust out of our eyes. Or I don't know,
Mhm.
maybe you're not. You might have slept a little bit at work. I don't know, but anyway, I hope not. This is crazy. We just got the drop of the CFP rankings last night, and so we're going to go through that, go through some different scenarios, and then we're going to get into a preview of the only five games that really matter this weekend coming up. Um, and so to Tyler, like just your first takeaways from the CFP. What did you think when you saw it? I know you said it took a little while. You didn't get to see it live. I didn't actually
Yeah.
watch the show, so I don't even know
Mhm.
what kind of idiocy came out of Joey Galloway's mouth. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it later on today to get a little feel for what the sentiment was. But
Mhm.
we had an inkling that there was going to be a signal of where they felt like South Carolina, Alabama, Ole Miss, Miami ranked, and where the path was for those schools going into this playoff. And man, did they ever telegraph it?
Yeah, I thought they'd at least, like, wait for, for the conference championships to be played and be like, "Oh, they lost. Here you go, Alabama." They didn't even wait. They said, "Oh, you're here already right now. Nothing can change that because you don't gotta play this weekend. Congratulations." Like, which I don't really know what to say. And the fact that 3-loss Alabama is ranked higher than 2-loss Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And, that Ole Miss is the first team out, or no,
Yeah.
Miami's the first team out. It's the seeding and the rankings will forever confuse me for the longest period of time. What I thought was
Yeah.
crazy is, that, like we said, they literally just said, "All right, Alabama, you're good, I guess," and let them on
Right.
in, and we
Yeah.
didn't even have to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
Um, I think that Ohio State not dropping far is kinda wild. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think they I don't think they should have dropped out entirely, but I thought they
Right.
at least might be going on the road,
Mm-hmm.
after getting whooped by an unranked team, and I know it's a rivalry weekend, and I think they probably at least were had to factor that in, where they
Right.
got whooped, um, at
Yep.
home to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's like those are the 2 things that really stuck out to me that they're literally saying, "Okay, Alabama, you're good," and I'm really and sorry to all the South Carolina fans. We wanted it for you.
Very
Um,
badly. Very,
very
very
badly,
badly.
but it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like listen, Lenora Sellers, just pray that nobody throws the bag at Lenora Sellers and he stays true to your guys' school and sticks
Yeah.
around
Right.
because he's going to go down as what the one of the best South Carolina quarterbacks if he continues on
Mm-hmm.
that road. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's get right into it, Chad. How do you feel? I didn't get to see
Yeah.
it until like
So
1:30 in the morning when I had a second.
yeah. My first takeaway was that just like you, like what I would have had, you know, I would have had South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama. I could maybe have seen Ole Miss, then South Carolina, then Alabama. I definitely, so I'm one who, we've been talking about this all season that I think Miami's a fraud. I thought Miami should have been behind all three of those SEC teams um, because I felt like I felt like they played their way out of it the last 3-4 weeks of the season.
Mhm.
They were undefeated, but they were flirting with death every weekend. It seemed like against mediocre to maybe some solid teams. I mean, I think Louisville's probably a better team than we maybe give them credit for. We're going to get into that in just a minute. I have some numbers to show you on all this stuff, but I felt like losing that game to Georgia Tech, and then granted, you watch Georgia go 8 overtimes with Georgia Tech, and it's like, well, it's not that bad, but
I get that.
rivalry versus what you're dealing with Miami, just kind of going through the motions in some ways, but that loss to Syracuse, blowing a 21-0 lead, and I'm not saying Syracuse is bad, but if you're a legit like national championship contender, I think Miami's probably sits about right in that 12 to 18 range,
For
right?
sure. I think
So
they're gonna
we
end up
what
no
we were
lower
saying
than
was they were a
15.
fraud when they were ranking them number 4, number
Mhm.
5, 6 in the country because there are definitely 8 to 10 teams way better than them, and then there are another 3 or 4 that are probably better than them, and then they kind of settle into that middle ground in the bottom half of the top 25,
Hmm.
right? So that's kind of where I was with what I was saying about Miami. And so I actually kind of looked at like the whole body of work, and it's inarguable the schedule differences between just like from looking at it, just seeing the teams play week in, week out, who Ole Miss, Alabama, and South Carolina had played, and how they had played against them, who they had beaten, who they had lost to, that sort of thing, and then comparing that to who Miami had lost to and who they had beaten. Because
Hmm.
I still sit on like, what's Miami's big signature win this year? It's probably the Louisville win,
It is.
you know? And so that was where I was. But I was hopeful, and I was sort of expecting that the South Carolina win over Clemson was going to be enough to show the people, the voters and the people in the committee, like, no, this is the hottest team in college football. They've won 6 straight, and they've won against some really tough teams. They've won some tough games on the road. They blew out a Texas A&M team that was undefeated in the SEC at that point, and their only loss was to Notre Dame before that loss to South Carolina. I just really thought that they were going to finally wake up and see, like, okay, no, this team is legit. They have earned this spot, and Alabama playing the way that they have been playing lately does not deserve to be in there. Um, well, how disappointed can you get? Um, uh, Infinity disappointed, and also like, I don't know. At this point, I'm not even surprised
That's what I
anymore,
mean.
because they
Disappointed
did the
but not
same they
surprised.
did the same thing last year where they just completely screwed Florida State, because
Yep.
they're just like, you know what? We don't. I don't know. I feel like it's like when there's a little kid, and you can be like, hey, do you want cotton candy, or would you like this really delicious meal that has been cooked by a gourmet chef? And they're just like, I want the cotton candy. It's like, that's gonna like make your teeth rot, and you're gonna get fat, and you're gonna have diabetes. Like, I don't give a shit. I want Alabama in the playoff all the
That's literally
time.
what they could have
But
said. Like it's like Alabama has a permanent residency in the
right.
playoff.
No
Like
matter.
it's the well, they when it was the 14 playoff, I forget who deemed it the Alabama Invitational.
Hmm.
I don't know who that's quoted from, but
Yeah.
it's very true. It's probably not an SEC guy if I had to guess,
Right.
but it's
Right.
true. Like,
Yeah.
it's so true that they would be considered over the two loss Miami, and
Hmm.
yeah, like we said, we don't think that Miami is a bad team. Like you have a
Hmm.
Heisman candidate quarterback.
Right.
You're not a bad team. You're just or not worthy of being a top five in the country, and
Right.
that is fine. Like, and that's
Yep.
the truth, and it's showed on the field. Um, I don't even think that we need to be top five right now. Yeah, that's what they did to us.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that they're trying to telegraph like their argument, the words that they use, the argument for Miami over Alabama, or excuse me, the other way around, Alabama over Miami, is that like Alabama had like a better record against teams that were 500 and above, and had a 3 wins over current top 25 teams, but the committee is the one who picks the top 25 teams.
Hmm.
So you're just saying that Alabama beat the teams that you like, I guess. But
Yeah.
then also, if you look at the flip side of that, and somebody in the Twitter comment said it, Miami is 4-0 against teams with below 500 winning percentage, and Alabama is like has at least a loss, if not two.
Well, not anymore, because the
I think at one point in time.
Oklahoma and Vanderbilt both ended up over 500.
Oh,
So
then maybe it's not
yeah,
true.
so it's like Alabama is undefeated also against sub
I
500
guess
teams.
that's fair.
But that's not. But anyway, so
That's a
let's
terrible.
do this. Let's do this. It's going to be as blind can be when you're trying to display the things that I'm going to display. Some of it's going to be a little bit obvious because you can recognize by like how many losses and whatever. Like, but really, what it's going to get down to is like when you see the 3 loss teams, what we're looking at there. So I put this little graphic together. This is the my CFP bubble graphic. And so what we have here is we have Team A, Team B, Team C, Team D, Team E, and Team F. The strength of schedules. As you can see, Team A has a 75, Team B a 15, Team C a 17, Team D has a 55 strength of schedule, and Team E has a 31 strength of schedule. Team F is 86th in strength of schedule. So the losses versus the FPI by ESPN's FPI, the football, what is it, power index or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So Team A has one loss to the 32nd team by FPI. Team F has one loss, and it's to the number one team by FPI. Team D has two losses. They're to number 38 and number 53. And then you have Team B, losses to 4, 8, and 17. Team C has losses to number 7, number 26, and number 39. And Team E has losses to 17, 22, and 49. And then when you go down, and so like I just kind of did like the average loss. So the average loss for Team A is obviously 32. Average loss for Team B is to the 10th best team in the country. Team C is the 24th best. Team D is the 45th, 46th best. And then Team E is 29th. And then, of course, Team F has one loss, and it's to the number one team in the country. So, but then you look at their average wins, and Team A is averaging a win against the 60th best, Team B 45th, Team C 39th, Team D 62nd, Team E 55th, and Team F 93rd. And then you look at some of those signature wins. So Team A has wins against 13, 37, 47, and 50, and 51, 54. Then you go through Team B, like losses to 15, 16, 20. I mean, I'm sorry, wins against, these are wins against, so wins against 15, 16, 21, 26, 39, 49. That's a pretty robust record. But Team C then 5, 14, 17, 21, 29, and then 48. So it's Team B and Team C are pretty damn close.
That's what I. That's
With
those are the two teams that I was looking at.
with the only exception being that Team B has a much stronger, like the losses, the schedule strength that they had to play against in terms of like the games that they lost versus the games that they won. The
Mm-hmm.
games that these two teams won are pretty close, but the games that Team B lost were to much stronger teams,
Yeah.
especially those second two losses. So it's anyway. Then when you look at Team E, losses to 17, 22, and 49, but wins against 5, 14, 26, 36. But then those bottom four wins are not as strong as those
Yeah.
bottom four wins by the others. So, would you like to know who's who?
Okay, well, I'm gonna
Or
pick
you want to
my.
guess? You want to
I,
guess?
I'm just gonna pick my bubble team.
Okay.
I'm just gonna pick the person that makes the bubble based off. They're averaging win over the best wins. I would take Team C.
You would take Team C over Team B.
Well, I think just because the average win and the strength. You're saying that's because that's the FPI. They
Yeah,
have the
the
best
average
average
win
win.
38. Yeah, so we're talking 38.6 versus 45.5
Right.
average
So
law average
so
win.
so Team C has a better average win. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, they do. They do. They have a better average win, but I mean, there's one win on there that really drags the average down for Team B. It's that win against number 124.
Okay.
Other than that, they're pretty. Now you do have the win against number 5, but then look at the losses for Team B versus Team C, and Team C. I'm
Well,
just saying, like,
okay.
but you
Yeah, because you
you're
got 26 and 39. I didn't see that.
yeah,
I mean,
but you see how it's pretty close, right?
yeah, I mean, Team B has better losses, but you
Hmm.
could argue for Team C's wins. That's where I'd be at.
All right, so you pick Team C then.
Mhm. Yes,
You
only
you picked
no.
you picked Alabama.
Okay, damn it.
Team A is SMU. Team B is South Carolina. Team C is Alabama. Team D is Miami.
I
Team
don't
E
know.
is Ole Miss, and
And
Team
see,
F is Boise
and this
State.
this just shows how dead heat it is, and that's why,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I feel you can do all this, and the committee's just going to claim head to head of
Hmm.
Alabama over South Carolina, which
Hmm.
sucks. Like and see, here I am with no names on it, like even
Alabama
thinking like
doesn't look that bad, do they?
No, they don't look bad on the win column, but their loss column is so much uglier.
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
South Carolina's, and that's what gets, at least for me,
to me, that's where it should.
right.
That's more important
Which I
because
think
you.
it graded losses heavier when there was less teams to be in.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
they said that our loss to Alabama was too much.
Yeah.
But then and then they just said, Texas beat Alabama earlier in the season, and then
Right.
Florida State, you just don't get to play even though you didn't lose at all, which is still crazy.
Right.
Um, Still the most asinine thing to ever happen in the history of college football is to
Hmm.
literally hose an undefeated
An
team,
undefeated, an undefeated team from
conference champion.
a power
Yes.
conference champion.
You're talking, if that Florida
Undefeated
State
team.
team is in this conference, they're literally number 2 behind
Hmm.
Oregon. They're literally, it's 1-2. That's it.
Yep.
Like, if that's what we played today, like, give me a break. But whatever. Bottom
Right.
line, I want it for South Carolina so bad, but
Hmm.
given that, because think about it, I just had to have that hard decision. And you know what
Hmm.
makes the decision less difficult in my brain? Team C beat Team B.
Yeah.
Unfortunately so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's it.
Well,
It's just,
so
I get it. Like, if you want to get nuanced with it, yes, Team C beat Team B with Team B not having the quarterback at full strength by 2 points
mhm,
in the dying seconds of the game.
right.
But Team B is playing better ball than Team C right now. But I don't know
Yes.
where that
Yes.
factors in. Like, how,
It's
like,
got to.
what have you done for me lately versus
If they
body of
can make
work?
the argument that Alabama lost to Texas early in the season last year,
Yeah,
and they're playing hot now, they're playing
yeah,
better, and they benched Jalen Milroe, and then he came back and he was a Heisman Trophy candidate. You know what I'm saying? Like if you could do that, then you have to be consistent. That's the thing that bothers me about this is that it's not consistent. It's basically whatever argument we can come up with to give it to Alabama.
yeah. And I think,
And
yeah,
the fact that South Carolina is actually behind Miami and Ole Miss is a travesty. Because what should be happening at the very least is that if some weird scenario happened to where both South Carolina and Alabama could get in, then they should. Not that South Carolina has to wait in line behind Miami and Ole Miss.
yeah. I
Because South Carolina clearly has the best resume out of Miami, Ole Miss, and South Carolina.
at least in the back half of their schedule, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
they've owned the back half of their schedule.
Right. And so,
Um,
but we can say definitively from that graphic though that Boise State and SMU have got to win this weekend or they're out.
yes. Oh, and we need to talk about that. Are we ready to talk about, like,
Mhm.
the scenarios for this weekend? Before we actually get into the
That's
games
why it's
themselves.
important that South Carolina is way on the outside looking in,
Right.
is because if Clemson beats SMU and UNLV beats Boise State, then that bumps SMU out
Right.
and Clemson in.
Right.
And so
So
you
is
end
it,
up
is it a swap? Is it a 2 for 2 swap though?
let's pull it up and see what
Because
the
I thought there was a
scenario ends up
chance.
being.
What I thought would happen is if SMU won straight up, that Alabama would not get in. I thought that if SMU lost to
Yes.
Clemson, they
If
would
SMU
potentially
wins,
try to get Alabama in
oh
over
no, yeah, you're right.
SMU.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, yeah. So if SMU wins, I you
They
know what, I didn't add Indiana to that. I probably should have Indiana in that graphic.
well, we
Maybe
didn't.
we can do that. We can do that after the conference championships. I'll redo the graphic.
Yeah,
I'll include Indiana, Tennessee. I'll include like all the teams that didn't win their conference,
yeah,
just so we can see like how like how accurate or inaccurate and random maybe some of this stuff ends up
yeah.
being
It
when
feels
they
so
make their
random.
decisions.
Like,
But yeah, so you're right. If it goes chalk, so you got Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee. Those teams are all
yeah,
guaranteed a
here's how
spot.
it's gonna go. I'll tell you, this
Yeah.
is how it's gonna go right now. I can tell
Indiana's
you, right.
also guaranteed a spot. So
I could.
that's 8 teams guaranteed spots, and then you have SMU,
Yep.
Boise State, Alabama, and then Arizona State, Iowa State winner is
So
going to jump some.
if it goes chalk, your
Hmm.
rankings will be Oregon, Texas, Penn State will fall out of
Right.
that. Obviously, that top four.
Yep.
You will then have
Georgia will fall out too.
Georgia will obviously fall down. You'll have, so
Yep.
it'll be Oregon, Texas. It'll probably have to go if it goes chalk,
SMU, Boise State.
SMU, Boise State, and then Arizona State.
Arizona State would be the
It doesn't
12th.
go, if we have a
Yeah.
little, the most likely quote unquote upset, whatever.
Mhm.
Not even upset, but because Clemson, SMU is ranked higher.
Mhm.
It's if SMU loses,
To
then
Clemson and
to Clemson, it's going to go Oregon,
mhm.
Texas, the Big 12 winner, maybe even Boise State,
Yeah. No,
and
Boise
then
State would
Clemson will
number
be your
3.
Clemson
Yeah.
will be your
Clemson
12.
will be the 12. Yeah.
Clemson will. It starts to get a little bit weirder if if we
Mhm.
beat Texas and if Penn State beats Oregon, then stuff
Mhm.
gets even weirder. But what I don't like is what we're literally it's all these spots are essentially locked. Like
Yeah.
Indiana's not going anywhere.
Right.
Notre Dame's not going anywhere. Ohio State is not. Tennessee and pretty much all of the people who are not playing this weekend are locked in.
Yeah.
Um, and then I mean, they're still trying to feed us this that they're going to keep us in, and we'll see it
Yeah.
when we'll see it if we
No,
win or lose.
yeah, I don't see you not staying in.
But then, do we bump Alabama out? Like
No,
if we
so I
drop,
don't. So I think no. So I think all right. So call me crazy. I'm just looking at this. Okay, how I Alabama's in. Period.
that's so annoying.
Like because the way it's set up right now is the only team that's outside the top 12 that's
Is
going to get into the top 12 is the Big 12 winner.
that's yeah, or Clemson if
So
they win.
even if Clemson wins,
Yeah,
all it does is knock SMU out. Now, the only slight caveat to that is if Clemson barely beats SMU, it's like an
I think
overtime
SMU
game or something.
deserves it with a loss.
They
I'm just
could
saying.
keep SMU in,
I think
and
SMU deserves it
Clemson
with a close
stays
loss.
in, and then Alabama's out. That's actually the only way Alabama's
The
out
way
is if Clemson wins.
if the committee was smart and really respected all football teams,
Hmm.
SMU with a close loss to Clemson would be in the playoffs still.
Yeah, and then here's what I would do too, like because they've done random ass shit like this before. Like I would be tempted to say if Clemson blows out SMU, then it's like, well, shit, South Carolina just beat Clemson
Hmm.
at Clemson.
Yeah,
Why isn't South Carolina? Okay, Clemson, you get the 12. South Carolina, you get the 11.
yeah. I
But I
wish
don't
it
see it
wasn't so
happening.
set in stone. It's
I'm
just,
smart enough to know that they're not going to do that to Alabama because
dude.
they've just got like whatever Greg Sankey has. Um, you know, I don't know that he's being blackmailed with. He is going to go to bat for Alabama over everyone else all the
Yes,
time.
I'm just annoyed. Like, and that they're still gonna get in no matter what. Like we think that losing to Vanderbilt, Oklahoma in the same season and losing to Tennessee on the road, which isn't that bad of a loss because Tennessee is obviously a ranked team. But
Yeah.
it just goes to show that like if you're Alabama, you get whatever. And I mean, I get that they're still gonna potentially let us stick around with 3 losses, but one of those is covering the conference championship.
Hmm.
So and neither one of them is to Vanderbilt or Oklahoma.
Yeah, and so about that, we've been talking shit about the Vanderbilt and Oklahoma losses for a while, and they deserve to be talked about, right? Because look, I mean, Alabama, after all, no one had done this in a long time, and you lost to Vanderbilt. You gave them their first SEC win in like 2 seasons,
I know. And what sucks
and
with
but I'll say this. Hang on. So I'll say this. It's not as bad as we think it is because when I was pulling up the stuff to make that graphic, one of the things that I was alerted to, um, unbeknownst to me, apparently Vanderbilt is not that bad. They're the number 39 FPI team in the country, and Oklahoma's number 26. How? I don't know how ESPN comes up with these things, but Oklahoma at 26 definitely threw me
I
because
think Oklahoma
they won two SEC games.
Oklahoma beat Auburn, right?
Yes, they beat Auburn
That's
and
why.
Alabama.
Well,
They are
that's
the
why
state
though.
champions of Alabama.
Right, and that's why though, because like you think about, I mean, Alabama has wins over us, and
Mhm.
who else is Alabama beaten?
Yeah,
South Carolina
yeah. South
and
Carolina, Missouri, they beat Missouri.
Mizzou,
Yeah.
and then Auburn has the big win over Texas A&M. So like, I
Uh-huh.
mean, and you're talking about SEC over against SEC
But
when it comes to
but this
FPI.
is where it's so frustrating though, Tyler, is we manhandled Vanderbilt and Oklahoma
Mm-hmm.
back-to-back weekends after they had already beaten Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it, and how we got our ass kicked by Alabama and how we choked it away at College Station. Like but it is like we were talking about, folks. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if I'm going to have time to build the graphics for each of these, but I may just do something like in Excel where it's just like this, and then it's just
Mm-hmm.
easy spreadsheet format. But you literally have every single, maybe not everyone in the country, but I think when you start getting big enough to where you get into 4, 5, 6 lost teams, it probably, the circles all close themselves to it,
Oh
maybe a
yeah.
wider circle. But every transitive circle has been closed except Penn State needs to beat Oregon.
Yep.
If Penn
All
State
within
beats
the top
Oregon,
12.
they close every top 25
Yep.
transitive circle that there is.
Yep.
Everyone is better than themselves
Yep.
and also worse than
Yeah.
themselves at the same time.
Like,
And I
yeah,
don't
it's crazy.
understand why. Like, this is the wildest season. It is the greatest season in college football history, and I cannot wait until the playoff. But Tyler, we have to wait for the playoff because first we've got 5 big conference championship games this weekend. We got number 10 Boise State in a rematch. They lost. Or, I mean, they narrowly won by 5 points at UNLV earlier this
Mm-hmm.
season. They are 4-point favorites. Neutral site game against number 20 UNLV, and this is playing for a spot in the playoff for Boise State. Not so much for UNLV. I think if UNLV wins this game, they do not get in. They well, no, wait, no.
No, if UNLV wins, they're definitely in. This is a
Yeah,
playing
they're
game.
in. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. They're in, but they would
It'd
knock
be
Boise
12.
State out. That's it. They would
Yes.
knock Boise State out. They can't both be in.
Nope.
Is what I was getting at. Yeah. So this is for a spot in the playoff. Boise State UNLV, and this is a tough matchup. It will boost Boise State's resume for sure
Mm-hmm.
if they get another win against a higher ranked team. What do you feel like with this one? You got Ashton Janty.
Yeah.
He had his struggles in that first matchup with UNLV. Punched one in late, and they got it done. But this is going to be
And,
a grudge match.
Boise State lives and dies with him, man. I mean, their quarterback has definitely benefited from all the
Mhm.
attention falling to
Yeah,
Genty. Madsen's thrown for over 20
yeah.
tuds this year. And then Hosmerly Williams, which takes over for Sluka, who just said, you know what? They didn't want to pay me. UNLV didn't want to pay me, so I'm out of here.
Could
Sick,
you
bro.
imagine if UNLV like
That's
made a
the that's the
run and
that's
won
the
the whole thing?
softest shit I've ever seen ever. But yeah,
What
whatever, man.
what if UNLV
Um,
what if UNLV won the whole thing
well, they had the
after
opportunity.
after he jetted? Like, what? Crazy.
But they had the opportunity, and Haj Malik Williams has stepped in nicely for this squad.
Uh-huh.
Throwing him for 17 tuds and a nice 1,700 yards. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously we're going to ride with the Broncos and our boy Ashton Genty. He's still on.
Yeah.
I cashed out his Heisman ticket I had from week 2 Heisman
Right.
ticket. I cashed it out and put some back in on it just so I'm holding. Listen, I'm holding a Travis Hunter Heisman future and Ashton Genty Heisman future with both great payouts. So is what it is. But I think for what Boise State has been able to do this year, Ashton Genty playing through what seems to be many injuries.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is what they need to get done. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, their first regular season matchup was a great game, and I assume this game is going to be just the same.
Hmm.
This is exactly the matchup we wanted for the Mountain West.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we get it because you get to run it back with clearly the 2 best teams in that conference.
Right. For sure. For sure. So one game that had a chance to be a play-in game
Mhm.
for the CFP is not so, because Tulane crapped the bed against Memphis and they are out. They are not even ranked anymore by the CFP committee. Army is 24th, but that's not good enough because if UNLV beats Boise State, Army could blow out Tulane and it's still not going to be enough to jump them up, um, to be that fifth conference champion. So this one's just kind of for bragging rights at this point.
Mhm.
It's kind of disappointing because I think it would have been really cool if Tulane had won, and then you were like watching this where it's like you'd have all 5 of these games would be really, really nail biter, like,
Mhm.
oh my God, who's going to get in? Who's not
Yeah,
going to get
seriously.
in?
The
But now
playoff
it's
game,
like, it's
playing game.
already, yeah. So like you'd have Boise State and UNLV, Arizona State and Iowa State playing like win and you might be in games, losing you're definitely out games.
Yep.
But instead it's just losing you're definitely out, winning you're definitely in for Arizona State and Iowa State, as well as Boise State and UNLV. Um, Cam Scattaboo and the boys trying to get it done. 2-point favorites. The thing that's crazy about this is all of these games that we're looking at, these are all 5-point spreads or smaller,
Which is
which is
crazy. I'm
crazy.
shocked that when we'll
Yeah.
talk about I'm shocked the Oregon spread is
Yeah.
within what it is. I think that is insane to me.
Hmm.
Also, I also love, 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 love that we're the underdogs going into this weekend. It makes me so happy because
Hmm.
it's always been they do their little thing and make us favored over Alabama in this situation, and we fuck around. So we'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
we like Arizona State coming into learn just at the right time. Jordan, dude, that receiver, Jordan Tyson
Hmm.
is a guy. He's
Yeah.
over 1K receiving on the year.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
and
right
that
there with
quarterback,
Travis Hunter.
right? What's
Don't
it?
get me started.
Dillingham is this team's coach. He's a young
Yeah.
guy too,
Hmm.
having looking real good. I would have loved still, and no disrespect to Iowa State, but I would have really preferred this to be Colorado.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Me
just
too.
like
Me too.
having Dion and Travis Hunter and the boys um, competing for a potential playoff spot would have been wonderful. I think Arizona State has us running away,
Yeah. Me too.
like the way that they've looked so far. I mean, Iowa State did enough to still be here. I mean, we thought they were the world beaters, but then they kind of fell off. Now they're back.
Yeah.
I like Arizona State and the points in this one for
Yeah.
sure.
And I want to see Arizona State in the playoff too,
I
because
think
I miss them.
they're the rightful Big 12
Yeah.
representatives. We didn't
I want
know
to
it.
see
Like,
Boise State. Everybody wants to see Ashton Jeanty and Cam Scadaboo in the
oh,
playoff.
for sure. Like Cam
And
Scatterbush should go to New
that's
York for God's sakes.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I want to see anyway. I don't know
Yeah,
if
right.
everybody else wants to see, but that's what I want to see. What I definitely want to see is a
Oh,
really close game between Oregon and Penn State, because what I would love to see is for the committee to do right by the whole world. And all right, cool, you're in the playoff, Alabama, but you have to travel to Happy Valley to play number 6 Penn State on the road
hmm
in the playoff. And that's one of those, like, Penn State, Alabama, that, like, there was a Sugar Bowl way back when. It was Penn State, Alabama. There were some regular season games where Penn State played Alabama. They actually have like a little bit of a history going back to before Saban got there, and they didn't schedule anyone out of conference that was any good. Um, I mean, Mercer and Western Kentucky and the Citadel and all this crap.
hmm
But Oregon, it's kind of weird. I wonder where Oregon's head is. You remember we talked last week about this concept of the adrenaline and the hype and the build up of all that stuff. Like, yes, winning a Big Ten championship is great and you're playing for something. Like, I'm not taking that away. However, there's got to be a little sliver of something in the back of those dudes' minds that, like, all right, we need to be healthy for the playoffs. Let's not go crazy. Let's not, I don't know. It's just I wonder how, like, and knowing that you have a mulligan, you want the buy. So it's weird. It's like,
I
because you see it in the NFL all the time where, like,
yeah.
week 16, 17, 18, these teams will cough one up that they shouldn't cough up, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things except maybe seeding. The one thing they do have going here is you do get a first round bye and you're playing
hmm
for that. But if you lose, what's the worst case scenario? Somebody comes to Eugene.
Yeah,
So
I don't think Dan Lanning is going to allow that in his locker
mhm.
room. I think you talk about not being able to manufacture adrenaline. He gets out as damn close as he can to. That dude's
It's
crazy.
true. It's true.
Like
It's
he
like,
is about he's about as damn close as like
yeah,
he won't allow that. Like his personality, his coaching style, he
yeah,
wants all the success. He wants Oregon to win this game by 50 and be the
yeah.
undefeated regular season team,
Hmm.
outright Big Ten champs. I know that he will not allow that thought to creep into his head. I wonder what Mr. James Franklin is going to do, seeing that he has to now
Hmm.
play the number one team in the country, his biggest test ever. I
Right.
would say I don't know if Penn State's ever played had to come in his tenure has had to play a number one team in the country. I'd have to look back at that. I don't know if
Yeah, I
Ohio
don't
State
know.
or Michigan was ever number one when Penn State had to play them. I doubt it.
Yeah,
Ohio State
I would think
maybe.
so.
Ohio State
Last
maybe.
year, Ohio State,
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, yeah, and
but
probably before that too. I would guess they probably have.
you got Chip Kelly. You got Chip Kelly. No, oh my God, what the fuck am I talking about?
I
Jesus
don't
Christ.
know because he's not there anymore.
No,
He's
he's not. He's not there anymore. Jesus Christ. Dan Lanning
Dan Lanning. Yeah,
against James Franklin. Jesus
Chip
fucking
Kelly's at
Christ.
Ohio State, but that's
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. Too many coaches. Whatever.
It's okay. Hey, earlier this year, I said Chip Kelly was still coaching UCLA
Yeah.
because I forgot that
He's just
Deshaun
who we,
Foster took the job.
he could be still coaching the Eagles. Who knows?
I think he is, and Michael Vick's still playing quarterback for him. Quarterback / wide
I
receiver
want
/ whatever.
this for Penn State so badly. I think this would be
Mhm.
electric. Penn State playing meaningful football is wonderful to see. Um,
Yeah.
I want this for them. It's going to be obviously their biggest test, which is when you ESPN Analytics actually has Penn State as a
Mm.
53.8% chance to win, which I think is very interesting. I wonder if they're thinking that Oregon is going to follow what you said and
Does
maybe
this computer know that James Franklin is the coach
right.
for Penn State?
Excuse me, sir. Do you know who's coaching the other team? Um, they just have to call a good game. And Franklin has the ability to call good games. It's not against good teams. So listen, prove the haters wrong, James Franklin. This is your opportunity. You didn't think you're going to have to be a part of, but go
Yeah.
get it done. My heart, my mind is telling me Oregon, but my heart is wanting Penn State.
All right. So two things. First of all, is it better for Penn State to lose a close game and get a home game in Happy Valley
Yes,
versus
but
getting a first round bye?
yeah, yeah. Like I
You
think
know, like
that
what's more cool and fun and like what would like
my honest opinion, I
hype
think
everybody
that
up?
once they have all this shit said and done,
Mm,
you have your buys, and that I think honestly, this might sound terrible to say, like they've already shown who they're probably going to put in, and they're most likely going to
mhm.
put in. So it's just a matter of where they want to seed them. And to me, the TV show aspect could play a part in it. It's like why don't we just pick like the 4 best home environments in college football and
Yeah.
just send the other teams
Well,
there,
you know,
like
one of them's
playing
going
in
to be
front of
South Bend.
right, playing in front of
The 5 seed is South Bend.
right.
So
So playing in front
make
of
the
touchdown
6.
Jesus,
Yeah.
playing in Happy Valley,
Right.
playing down in what, playing in the shoe, playing
Well, no, playing at Neyland.
at Neelan. I didn't even think about that. Oh my god.
Neyland, and then Austin if Georgia
Mm,
beats Texas,
yes.
or so like yeah, or the
And
shoe.
Athens. Well, no,
Yeah.
we're going on the
So
road if
the
we lose,
so
but
but think about that like South Bend, Neyland, Happy Valley, the shoe, or like replace one of those
Austin.
with Austin.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. The only
Like
thing that would be cooler is the blue field at Boise.
I know we've
Uh,
talked about this. The blue
but
field.
it's not going to happen. They're going to be like
No.
the 10, the 9 at best.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
but
that'd also be awesome.
so the second question is, it's Big Ten media days. Ryan Day is still the head coach at Ohio State, and James Franklin is still the head coach at Penn State. They both walk up to the door at Big Ten media days at the same time. How long does it take for them to stand there and say, no, after you, no, after you, no, after you, no, after you, no, after you? Because neither one of them ever wants to win. They're just like too polite. They're like, no, you score. No, you score. Oh, we don't want to score. You score. No, we don't want.
It is,
Man, they're the
Dan
most. They're,
Dan Lanning's gonna step on your throat and say, "Nah." He's gonna take the door and just bash your head in with the door and then step over you.
beat them both to death with the door. Oh my gosh. Anyway, all right. So the final matchup of the weekend.
Yeah,
Wait, I
we
didn't
have two
even make
more.
the. Wait, did I not make the one for? I didn't. You didn't tell me the stuff for the
Yes, I
Georgia
did,
Texas
but
game.
that's okay.
Did you? All right. What is it? What is
It's
number
okay.
two?
Yeah,
Number
it's
two,
2 and 5.
Texas.
Number 2 and 5, and Texas should be favored by like 3 points.
All right.
Number
I
two, number
understand.
5, Texas is favored by 2.5 down in Atlanta. Here's what I'll say, and it is not straight.
Wait,
And
hang
I know
on.
Oh,
You can't talk when I don't have the graphic up there. That's like against the rules.
sorry, everybody.
And is that one before the Clemson game?
I
Because
think they're actually yes, it is. Yeah, we're usually that's usually the 3:30 slot, 4 o'clock slot.
okay, all right. I just want to make sure because I don't want to
The
jump the
Big
gun
Ten
here. All right,
championship
so
and ACC championship will be happening simultaneously at 8 p.m. We
so here
play
you
at home.
go, and this is another example of why the rankings right now are meaningless, except for they let you see who's going to get in and who's not,
Mhm.
regardless of what happens this weekend, and some of who's going to get in and who's not depending on what happens this weekend. But by no means are these rankings going to hold because it's impossible for them to hold because Oregon can't stay number one and Penn State stay number three. Texas cannot remain number two and Georgia also remain number five.
Mhm.
One of them is moving,
Yep.
or probably both of them are moving.
Yeah.
If Texas beats Georgia, probably no movement unless Oregon loses. But if Georgia beats Texas, there's going to be some movement in both directions.
Yeah. I'm
So,
so pissed we can't have a game in Athens. It's very clear that if we lose, we're going on the road. And
hmm
if we win, obviously we just get the bye. So we just
hmm
have to hope for like a good path coming through our
do you think it's possible that if this is like a really really close, field goal at the horn kind of deal, and Texas wins, that Georgia not only stays in but actually stays in the top eight and gets a home game?
I go
Or do you
no.
think
I go
you think
no
no?
because there's gonna be way
Okay.
too many 2-loss. I don't
You think
I go
Alabama
no.
jumps you
No.
probably because they have the head to head?
Well, I mean, if they're honoring head to head as much as they are, then maybe.
But that would be so
It
Greg
would be dumb.
Sankey
It's
and the college
possible.
football committee to give Tuscaloosa a home game.
Yes. Oh,
That
for
would be
sure.
so NCAA to
It'd
do
be
that. Just be
very
like,
NCAA.
yes,
As far
where
as
would you?
this game is concerned, let me tell you, there's not much to say. You take
Mhm,
the defense from the time we played them the first time and
mhm.
how Carson Beck has been playing in the last 3 games and just put it together, we beat him by 3 touchdowns.
I was gonna say, what was it? You're up like 23 to nothing or something like that, and Carson Beck was playing like ass.
Carson Beck threw 4 picks, 3 picks.
You're still up by 3 touchdowns.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, because our defense played out of their goddamn minds. That's like in
And then
Austin.
and then still you go back to the Alabama game like that's why I look at this and I'm like, man, you have to look at that win against Georgia early in the season
We
through a
spotted him
different
28
through a
points.
different set of glasses. You spotted them 28 points and you didn't even play that well and you still beat them until you like
We have
one
played
busted play.
we have played a combined half the Alabama game,
hmm
second half of the Tennessee game,
The whole
8
Texas game, I would say,
the whole
right?
Texas game, 8 minutes of the Georgia Tech game, and that's about it. Well, this year, and we
Yeah.
have 2 losses. So, so
Yeah,
like,
'cause I would say you did not play well at all against Ole Miss.
no, we played like shit. We
And
played okay against Florida. We played very pedestrian against Florida.
mhm,
We
mhm.
played a backup quarterback, Carson Beck, in said game threw 3 picks, and we
Yeah,
won by 15.
yeah, you did not
So,
play well against Kentucky either.
no, he did not. No, oh my god, no.
No,
Jesus
no,
Christ. That Kentucky D
no.
line. No, he didn't. So that's what I'm telling you. I mean, and we a
Oh, you
running
did play.
game.
You did dominate Clemson, but that was only
But
really for a half, right?
that was yeah. Once again, that was the second half, and it was the run game that really kind of got going there.
Yeah.
And then we beat Auburn. But like realistically, like truly, I'm talking about good football.
hmm
Second half of the Alabama game, second half of the Tennessee game, 8 minutes left of the Georgia Tech game, and the Texas game. That is it.
hmm
That is it. What I
hmm
would consider good Georgia football that has been played this year, and
What is
33
that like?
drop passes.
2.5 games worth,
Yeah,
something like
and
that.
33 drop passes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we, like I said,
Mhm.
if we can play defense like we did in Austin and have Carson Beck continue on this, he's just Bobo is just
They're
he's
dialed in now.
they're
Yeah.
dialed in and Beck is seeing it's almost like and it's so funny. It's like he's making the same throws ish that he was throwing picks on, just like with better timing and more
Yeah.
accuracy.
That's it.
Like
Timing and
I
anticipation.
want to literally go
It's all
back to
about anticipation.
that touchdown pass to Lovett
hmm
over the top, where once again, and I've said it in like two videos now, but it's so true because it's been his problem is when he's trying to fit it over the top, he doesn't see the 2 guys underneath, and he just has been seeing that more. Bobo's been scheming him more. Don't throw the ball to Arian Smith. Jet sweeps only. And we have plenty of guys out there who can catch the ball and score for us. And I think that keep Frazier going as the feature back right now with ATN being all over the place with injuries and whatnot. I think Colby Young might be back in the lineup or at least available after suspension for definitely not driving a car. And then we get Humphreys, love it. Delp, we have options, and that's the craziest thing is we are not receiver by committee. We do not have a Ryan Williams. We have never had something like that since probably AJ Green.
Right. Pickens.
Well, George Pickens, but George Pickens didn't play for most of his years. Like realistically, he didn't. He played very few games. I'm gonna keep saying it. Defense that showed up in Texas and Carson Beck to stay on the path he's doing, I think we can beat him by 3 touchdowns. If we cannot tackle, we will lose. If we drop the ball, Texas will not give us that many opportunities. Texas will not gift us those many mistakes on offense again. Period. Period. I like that we're the underdog. I hope they all pick against us. I think that Kirby's got the boys right where we need to be. The only thing left to do is go and get it done. Home game in Atlanta. I'm excited.
Atlanta helps.
I'm excited. I didn't think we were going to be having this conversation. I thought we'd be one of those teams that were safe in that little range, and we're not. Here we are playing in the conference championship anyway. Thanks, Alabama.
Right.
So here we are. Like, I know I'm ranting, but like, there's not much left to say, Chad. There really isn't much left to say. Like we've seen what we need to see. And we know
Austin's a long way from Atlanta, and you took care of business in Austin. Will they come to eat this time in
I love
Atlanta?
that.
You can only hope, right?
Dude, that's not it. We're going to eat, baby. We're going to eat.
So one last game to preview is this SMU-Clemson matchup. Again, this is a win and you're in, lose and you're out. SMU 2.5-point favorites against Clemson. And, I guess it just kind of comes down to, does Clemson still have kind of what Alabama has, where like you're playing not that great, but the intimidation factor kicks in and this new kid on the block, SMU, comes into this championship game and they look across the sideline and it's Dabo Sweeney and it's all these dudes that have kind of been through the wars. I mean, you still have guys on that roster who were, part of teams that were contending for CFP spots. Nobody left from the Trevor Lawrence, national championship runs or anything like that, but you do have some guys who have been around for 3, 4, 5 years. And so there's still a little bit of that pride in the program that's been built there and everything. And they see all those championship banners. SMU, like their big claim to fame is getting caught cheating in the 80s and having their program death penalty. So they're back and they're playing really well. But is Clemson good enough to kind of reverse that trend? And then if Clemson blows out SMU, does that give a window for South Carolina to maybe leapfrog Alabama, where they maybe reevaluate that season-ending win against Clemson at Clemson? Because then it's just like, well, wait a second, maybe we weren't giving this enough credit, and maybe Clemson barely losing to Alabama in Tuscaloosa should not be as we shouldn't give that much credit to Alabama for that versus giving South Carolina credit for playing them that close with an injured QB who, like, Lenore Sellers was running around on a leg and a half basically. So I don't know. What do you think? You think SMU's got enough to actually get this done? I tend to think so, but I still wonder about that intimidation factor of Clemson's just Clemson.
I want them to. I think given the circumstances, one team's been here enough times. The other team is brand new situation. Clemson, SMU being 30 years too late on paying your player, too early on paying your players, is what it is. I think, and SMU, I mean, they get the grace. We've said, "Oh, here's your trap game. Here's your trap game. Here's your trap game," and they've handled all of it. They
Hmm.
really have. Um, Clemson, they we beat something into them or out of them or something because
Right,
they went
right.
on a tear immediately after that game.
Hmm.
Um, playing, I think they still played well against South Carolina. South Carolina's played better.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I like that Clemson in this game over Miami. For being honest, I think Clemson deserves this more than Miami.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I think the only thing I do think for sure is if SMU loses, they're getting screwed out of this playoff. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's close or not.
Right.
Knowing the committee, they're going to get screwed.
Well, if you go back to the graphic that I had put up, there's a reason why.
SMU is going to get
They are
screwed.
team A on this thing, and they should get screwed because you have one win
Hmm.
against a top 25 team, and that's against Louisville, the 13th best team. Your average win is against number 60, which isn't that bad, but your average loss is against number 32, which puts you in that like Miami territory,
Hmm.
where you're on the outside looking in. I don't have Clemson in this thing. I guess maybe I should have had them.
That's okay.
Like I said, I'm gonna pull all this stuff together so that we have something for next week after the conference championships are done. But one thing that I wanted to point out is, so you look at this game, you got number 17 against number 8. We got number 15 against number 16. And we just kind of assumed that if Clemson wins, they're getting the 12 seed, and that the winner of the Big 12 is going to get the other first round bye. But I don't know that if Clemson wins and it's convincing against SMU, I don't know that Clemson doesn't jump the Big 12 champ and get the 4 seed.
I could see that then because
Uh,
it's Clemson and because it's
mhm.
Dabo and because they've been
Yeah.
there. I could see that as well. I
And
think.
certainly if UNLV beats Boise State, then the Big 12 champ and Clemson would both be first
Mhm.
round buys, and then the UNLV would be the 12.
Yeah, I think I I have to think. You bring the good point. Is if Clemson wins this one in a landslide,
Hmm.
like what does that do for South Carolina's
That's what
resume?
I'm
As like
saying.
they now have the win over a
Hmm.
what they consider a current top 25 team, a college football playoff member, yeah,
Yeah.
contender, um,
Conference champ.
conference champion, ACC champion.
Hmm.
I feel like they're going to give them that courtesy, making them the first out over Miami. If I'm being honest, that
Oh,
little,
just
that,
saying
that
like,
little, that
hey,
little,
good
that
job,
little,
guys.
that
Here's your
little, that little,
consolation trophy.
that little first out, whatever
Right.
situation. Like you got cut from the team last. Sorry, guy.
Yeah. You
Um,
still don't get a jersey.
yeah, it's like sorry, man. Better
Do you
luck
want to be
next
the team
time.
manager?
Yeah, water boy, nice and open for business. Yeah. Um, Lenore Sellers will have SCE looking at the college football playoff in years to come. It just did too little, too late.
Hmm.
A couple ball bounces one or two ways against LSU, one or two
Yeah.
ways against Alabama. They're looking at only maybe one real loss was that
The Ole Miss
lost to Ole
lawsuit.
Miss, handily lost. Which I mean, people does Ole Miss have a better resume than
The
Alabama?
thing
Am I like
is,
missing something?
yeah, no, they don't. So that's the thing. Like, so again, let's pull this back up
And
again.
maybe I'm missing. I
Well,
missing
let me
something.
pull the banner out of the way first. So let's look at Ole Miss's
Maybe
resume
it's
again.
because they traumatized me more than Alabama.
Yeah.
That's why I'm feeling that way.
So Ole Miss has that win. They are Ole Miss is team E. Yes, Ole Miss is team E. So they have losses to 17, 22, and 49.
Hmm.
49 being Kentucky, 22 being
Yeah, that's a pretty damn bad loss.
yeah, 22 being the loss to Florida, and then LSU's the 17. But their wins are 5, 14, 26. But then you get down to the bottom and they have like it starts to get uh, less impressive as you get to the
Yeah.
bottom of their schedule. And look, credit to Alabama, all of their wins are against the top 100, which I mean, it's not saying a whole lot, but it's not, they didn't play number 124, number 129. I mean, when you get down to that part, like you should be winning those games anyway. Who cares?
Hmm.
But like losing to number 39 and number 26, Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, but then for Ole Miss to lose to Florida and that atrocious loss at home to Kentucky, and that's the thing I was going to say. So South Carolina has a very close early loss to LSU with Lenore Sellers getting hurt and missing the second half of that game. They had to bring Robbie Anderson in to play quarterback for the rest of that game, and it was bad. It was
He
very
is
bad.
not good.
He's
He
not
has
good.
never been good.
He's not good. And so yeah, that plus they had a couple of pick sixes that got called back for penalties. One of them turned out to not even be a pick because the penalty was like a horse collar while Nussmeier was throwing the ball, so that negated the whole play. The other one was they threw a pick and then Kyle Kennard, and I apologize to Kyle Kennard for calling him Devin Kennard. There was a guy who played for the Giants, and his name was Devin Kennard, and I was just like, it's like Kennard, what's his first name? I think it's Devin. Anyway, my apologies, Kyle. But anyway, Kyle Kennard hit Nussmeier on a block, like a crackback block on the return. The guy housed it, but they brought it back inside the 10 because of the
Mm.
hit on the quarterback. So, those plays go the other way, and LSU loses by a couple of touchdowns. And that's in William Bryce Stadium at like 11 o'clock, kickoff or whatever. But the other two losses that South Carolina has is at Tuscaloosa and at Oxford.
Yep.
So, like, yes, that Ole Miss loss by 3 touchdowns is bad, but is it worse than Norman, Oklahoma, Alabama going and only scoring 3 points? No, it is not. So, like, I don't understand how they can continue to just shoehorn them in like that, and to disrespect South Carolina so much that they keep them behind Ole Miss and Miami as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty
It's
crazy.
it's
They
it's.
basically just told you like we like Alabama enough no matter what's going on. And so like I
Mm-hmm.
said, like they could field 22 midgets and lose every game by 40 points, and the committee would be like, I don't know, man, Alabama looks pretty good. It's like
But
it's pretty crazy.
I'll tell you one thing. I cannot wait until you and I get to finally talk about where these home games are going to be played.
Oh man, it's gonna be
It's
so
going to
much fun.
be electric.
It's
I
gonna be
hope that
so
everybody
crazy.
will stick around for that next week after
Mhm.
the final unveiling of the rankings. We get to actually
Right.
play out these scenarios and not just
That's right.
talk about them for the whole season.
Mhm.
We finally will have it all in front of us. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. I know you're excited too, Chad.
Yeah, and we have 5 big games that actually matter. We have one that doesn't necessarily matter with Army and Tulane, but all of the other games are either win and you're in games, or they have like massive implications for the seeding and
Mhm.
whether you get a first round bye or whether you're playing on the road or maybe a home game, whatever, in the first round. So yeah, a lot of stuff to do there. We also have like we're recording this in the morning of National Signing Day or whatever. It's the early signing period day, whatever. So when all that stuff comes in, we're going to do an episode on that later on in the week or maybe early next week. But yeah, we're definitely going to do an episode where we go through these the results of these conference championships, and then do the when the final playoff rankings and seedings are revealed, and we know where these matchups are occurring in the first round and who's got all the first round buys, all that good stuff, and we know who's in and who's out, and if any craziness has happened, because the committee has shown that this stuff isn't necessarily completely locked in, and there is like this. It's a very very small, like you got to roll three ones on a d20 to make this
Love that.
happen. But yeah, hey, look, if a nerd had to build this graphic, that nerd also knows about rolling
Hell
d20s.
yeah.
So anyway, um where South Carolina could jump Alabama, if that Clemson thing, if they see it the way that we see it. I doubt they do, but it's still a possibility. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff to talk about, and I can't wait. Like I'm like a kid in a candy store. I've been waiting for this type of atmosphere, for this bracket scenario to happen for over 30 years, where I've been talking about this. I wanted it to be a 16 team playoff way back when, and
Mhm.
my idea was to have it to where this is before the NFL had televised games like every night of the week.
Yeah.
Um, Back in the day when I was growing up, you had Sundays and you had Monday Night Football, and then on Thanksgiving Day you had 2 games. Dallas hosted a game, Detroit hosted a game. That was it. And I was thinking, like, man, it would be really cool if you end the season a week early, and then the day after Thanksgiving and the Saturday after Thanksgiving, you play the first 4 games each day of the first round. So you have 16 teams, 8 games, 4 on Friday, 4 on Saturday, like back to back to back, just like
Hmm.
a whole day. So like all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and
That's
Sunday is just
beautiful.
football, like overdose, right? That was my vision back in the 90s. And it took them this long to finally get here, and we're gonna play 2 weeks after Thanksgiving to figure out who the hell's going to it. But
Hmm.
I don't care. I'm still happy that we actually get to see the games, and the bowl games are still going to be fun and meaningful and have all that stuff. Yeah, you're going to have people sitting out because they don't have the meaning in it. LSU's probably going to be playing without like 9 guys in the bowl game because Will Campbell's going to sit out and all those other seniors are going to sit out. But it's still going to be fun. It's still going to be exciting. And the playoff is going to be on a whole nother level that we have never seen before. I think better than the 14 playoff games have been.
Oh, by a country mile. By a country mile, it's gonna be more. We're not gonna have. We're nobody's gonna get Cincinnati.
Hmm.
No, well, they
Or
might.
Washington that one year when
Or
Washington
Michigan
snuck in from the
State.
Michigan State that one year. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was.
like we're not we like, but at the
That's the
same
crazy
time,
thing is that like those teams were in, and there were 10 teams better than them that didn't get in.
yep.
That's why this is better. Is
Hmm.
because now, okay, yeah, cool. You're still gonna have whoever the team is that, and we don't really know because this season's been so crazy. I
Yeah.
don't even want to name a team who I'm like they don't belong, because I don't know. But what we're going to have is we're going to have the 8 teams that should have been in. So you're actually going to get quality football from those 8 teams instead of having 3 good teams, one team that doesn't belong there, and then you're kind of hoping that they don't get beat 42-10.
Hmm. Pretty much. That's what I mean. It's like we always prayed that we could just have both the semifinal games be good, and
Hmm.
now we have like we might get one like shellacking. It's a
Yeah.
high likelihood of that, especially with
Yeah.
Indiana and people being
Hmm.
in the mix. Um, yeah, I cannot wait. I'm so excited. It's finally here. What we've been waiting for so long is finally here. I can't believe we're actually at conference championship weekend. I've been enjoying doing this so much. I hope that everybody else has enjoyed watching so
Right.
far. Clearly you have, because you just love saying how much you love us, clearly, in the
Right.
comments.
Everybody loves us.
Nobody
I
hates
feel
us.
the love. I feel the love
Mhm.
all the time. So yeah, so don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe, and give us a comment. We love your comments; they're always fun, especially the ones that slander us and try to steal our souls. We're still here. We love you. We appreciate you coming and watching, and we can't wait for we're gonna have like another, I don't know, several weeks of really, really fun football to talk about. So I'm excited about it. He is Tyler. I am Chad. This is the South End Zone. I gotta find another way to say that because I can't say this is the South End Zone that fast without fumbling it. It's like one of those tongue twisters or whatever. So I gotta figure out a different way to say it. But this is the South End Zone. We're out of here. Catch y'all next time. Peace.